So we're not too far off a general election. Who knows? One may even happen this year. we don't know. But it is and does make sense for Labour to really start talking about policy. And I love it when we have policy discussions because you get to see what a impact of a policy is. Why is a policy good? Why do we want good policy and well thought out policy and stuff that can plan for, not only 5-10 years down the line? This is why policy is really good. It's probably really, really boring to a lot of people, but it is really, really important, especially if you want to have good government. And one thing certainly the Tories have been very much devoid of for quite some time is policy. So the other thing you also hear is that Labour has no policy. No, Labour does have policy. They've talked about it quite a bit, but either people just ignore it or just generally aren't interested. We've had Rachel Reeves talk about how she wants a Green New Deal for the UK, and she's talked about that ad nauseum quite a couple of times, Rachel Reeves. She would be the greenest Chancellor the UK has ever had. Ed Miliband talked about expanding rights for unions. Yeah, that's there. You've got Angela Rayner has talked about bringing in new MP standards, rules and laws and new corruption stuff. That will be fantastic. And today we've heard talks about what Labour intends to do with the care crisis, because this is yet another crisis, because, it just goes to show you how many, quote, topics are under, shall we say, the crisis headline, but the Tories just haven't done anything about it. And the care crisis is ultimately one that it will sooner or later affect us all. So one of the things that Labour is putting forward today, and we're going to go through this in an article today, what they've announced, is to create a national care service that is going to be on the basis of the NHS and very much inspired by the NHS. And we all love the NHS, right? So a national care service is an answer or a potential answer to this care problem. So we'll get into this and we'll have a look at this article, see what we think. So as always, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help support the channel as well as the YouTube thank you button. And of course, the YouTube subscription button, where you get all sorts of little bells, whistles, and whatnot when you subscribe to the channel that way. So onwards we go. So this comes from The Guardian with the title of Labour's aim to launch national care service implemented by the creation of NHS. Labour will aim to bring a national care service to England with just as much ambition as the 1945 government brought into the NHS, the Shadow Health Secretary has said, launching a review of how it would work. In an interview with The Guardian, Wes Streeting said that he had asked the Fabian Society to look at how the service could be funded and structured with a view to bringing it over in the course of several parliaments. He said that the immediate priority would be providing better pay, training, and full rights at work for carers, and stronger national standards. The quote, long-term vision would be a national service on par with Antu Breven's version of the NHS. I would love to see a national care service delivered on the exact same terms as the NHS, publicly owned, publicly funded, and free at the point of use. But we've got to be honest about the scale of the challenge. So our starting point is to make sure that we deliver national standards for care users and the better pay and conditions for staff who work in the social care, Streeting said. He added, I think the key thing about a national care service is that it's a journey, not an event. We would not be able to help to deliver this overnight or even in a single parliament. It's about how we lay foundations for it in the first term of a Labour government and then look to build on it on a second or third term. He expressed concerns about the many care homes that are owned by private equity groups, one in 7 are not meeting standards and requiring improvement. The review will look at whether private equity-owned care homes could be brought into public ownership. If private providers want to continue playing the role in deliver social care, then they should have to deliver good quality care with public service ethos, he said. Streeting said that he was generally open-minded about who should be responsible for the publicly owned National Care Service, whether the NHS, local authorities, or another body. The former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn promised a national care service back in its 2019 manifesto, but his successor Keir Starmer has said that he is wiping the slate clean by writing a new manifesto again from scratch. Streeting said that a national care service was unfinished business for Labour and was publishing a white paper on this idea as one of his last acts in government. As Keir Starmer has set out this week, the Labour Party is starting afresh, and we are writing a fresh manifesto that looks to the future, not shackled by the past. We are going to work towards a national care service, he said. This is where Labour is, and that is my commitment as the Shadow Health Secretary. One argument I want to get across is that unless we face the crisis in the care sector, the NHS backlog is going to be harder to resolve. In its review of the set of the social care sector, the Fabian Society will look at the structure of the care home market and how the next Labour government could guarantee good standards of care for all professional standards for carers across the sector. For pay for care workers, Streeting said that there should be a significant uplift. If you're looking at things how have changed under the Tories, and used to be the case that care workers were paid at least 30 pence per hour more than retail sector staff, now they get paid 20 pence less than retail sector staff. We are now losing workers to companies like Amazon, who, let's be honest, are not famed for their pay terms and conditions. Last month, the Scottish Government set out terms for a national care service with an overhaul for adult care with emphasis on care homes that would not nationalise the sector, but it would make firm bosses directly accountable to Scottish ministers in a more centralised system. Scottish Labour said that it's not a true national care service, but a power grab, but aims to take authority away from local councils, while Unite called it an incomprehensible, incoherent, and dreadful bill. So there are obviously potential problems in this, but it's a start. And to be honest, big policies like this have to have a conversation starter. And I think we can all admit, just as we said there, we are in a social care crisis. Just as we have been in a housing crisis, we're in a cost of living crisis. We're in an inflation crisis, soon to be probably in another recession crisis, very much so. There's so much crisis, I can't tell you which one is bigger than the others at the moment in time. And it is really important that we start talking about this early. And I think this is a good conversation to have. I think the idea of the creation of a national care service is actually a really good idea. I really do. I think that if we can create something like this and make sure that people are receiving good care in their old age, then that will lessen the pressure on the NHS. So ultimately, yes, I'm certainly in favour in this. I will definitely look out to see what the Fabian Society comes up with, what they say in their review, and of course, hopefully, this will become, Labour policy. I think Wes Streeting is very, very right on this. But again, this is, quote, more Labour policy that people say doesn't exist. But, here it is. So, yeah. Ultimately, of course, we'll have to see what happens in the manifesto. We'll have to see what happens when that comes out. We know that it is being, quote, rewritten, probably because, like I say, we fully expect there to be a general election soon. So it does make sense for Starmer to say, hey, look, we're writing a new manifesto, because there could be one this year, there could be one next year. We don't know. It's entirely up to whatever potentially Boris Johnson decides to do. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button on your way out. And of course, down below, there's a link to my Patreon page and a motivation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.